Hey there everybody, thanks for joining me for another one-man review. Today I'll be taking a look at Colorama Clubhouse number 17. I've looked at some of Colorama's other clubhouses, and when I did that video I promised that the newer ones are even cooler, and this video is going to be proof of that. You can see already just by how this book's put together that it's a really interesting production. It also came with this risograph poster. Colorama's a big risograph place in Berlin. So they're a big risograph production company, and this is a little Riso poster. This is printed with 72 masters in 21 colors and is an edition of 500. So this has 21 different colors on it, different colors of ink. And they're really, I think, just showing off like this is the combinations of things that we can do. I do think it's unfortunate with Colorama that they do a lot of beautiful things like this, and this is, you know, a limited edition of 500, and they send them folded. Like, I don't know, like limited edition prints and like a beautiful poster that I'm gonna, you know, something like this that's really well designed and whatnot, but then there's no design thought to, like, this could have at least creased through here or something. So that seems really strange to me, and anytime I've gotten things from them that have like a poster quality to it, they're always folded. So I don't know, that's strange to me. I'm assuming when they actually sell prints, they're not doing that. This is just how they give out extras with their anthologies that they make. So anyways, the anthology itself is a hell of a beautiful thing. The covers are cardboard, and then they're bound together with this like vinyl fabric here, and this has also been printed on really nice crisp printing too, to be printed on a kind of textured vinyl fabric. But then you see you just have like cardboard here, and so this looks like screen prints, not risographs. I don't know, I mean, maybe you can run this stuff through a Riso machine, since a Riso is kind of like a mechanical screen print machine as I understand it, but this feels like it must have been done with the screen print. Just I don't know, I'd be curious. Maybe this is all done Riso, but it looks like screen printing to me, and if you can do that with the Riso, then I'm even more excited about Riso. And then you get basically the same thing as you do in the other clubhouses, where you get a collaboration between someone who's doing an illustration and then someone who's doing a comic, and they're there for, I think they said 2 months. They go to Berlin and they do like a residency and a workshop. This is the first one they've done. They got shut down for a while for COVID, but they get together and they all do this in person. Oh, it was, let's see, 94-page book that was planned over the course of half a year, was drawn in a month, then finished, printed, and bound in 2 weeks. So I think normally they get together, but this one was done remotely because of COVID, I think is what they were saying there. Anyways, the important thing is the awesome art that's in this book. I'm assuming that the first name here is the person who did the illustration, so this is Hai-Hsin Huang. This is obviously a reproduction of a painting, so in my opinion, risograph's not the best medium for reproducing something like a painting that really has a full range of colors. I think risograph works best when someone understands the options of the extra colors and stuff, and uses those to construct their images. When you're just reprinting something like this, you might as well just be doing it like offset litho CMYK. But when you're doing an anthology book, you're going to have some artists who are going to do some things different. So that works. It's not a big deal. But it's just with the risograph stuff, it always seems like, you know, something like this where, and let's see, this is by Lala Albert, that you get something where they're obviously very much working with what risograph does. So you have like, well, here's this color that I'm going to use, and then I'm going to prepare something, whether it be in this color or black and white or however this was prepared, but it's prepared for that color to have that effect, to fill that area. And that's, to me, a lot better use of the risograph. And you can see it makes for a really beautiful image. That's the type of thing you're probably not going to see anywhere else because of the textural quality. It feels more like actual ink on paper than a reproduction, and that's really interesting. Whereas when you have something like that frontispiece here, the illustration here, it feels less like paint on canvas than if it were reproduced with a CMYK, offset litho process. So I think that's, when I look at risograph, that's kind of one of the things I'm looking for is, are they taking advantage of the material nature of it? Like this piece here definitely does. It's supposed to look like a bit like an old faded poster, and the printing process of the Riso nails that perfectly. So this is, I'm assuming, again, the first one is by the first name. So this is Nishant Saldhana. And then Malwine Strauss is the person who did the comic in here. And this is, again, someone that looks like they're working with a full range of color with watercolor and then translating it to risograph. And it looks good, but again, you lose some fidelity there, I think. But really cool designs, good poetic writing on the side. This is Nicolette Wood on this front illustration here. Again, someone who's working with Riso instead of against it. And then Hanne, I don't understand, J-L, I'm assuming, or Anne? I don't know, Hanne Jatho, don't know, got a weird font. Strange one here. Again, really good use of the color palettes and all of those things. Some really interesting ideas about what they would find sexually compelling. Very much into slugs and slime and the idea of sliminess, so not my thing, but hey, go have fun, I don't want to clean up after that. Diane de Ferran here, and Andrea Lukic is the comic artist in here. Andrea Lukic is someone I really need to know more about. I've already done some research, and Andrea seems to have a fairly robust ongoing body of work, but I couldn't find anywhere to get it. But I really like the drawing style in here. It's very unique to the artist. It feels like a very singular voice. And then again, the use of the risograph, realizing that you're working with a printmaking technology, and so taking advantage of kind of collage in printmaking with elements like this, and then also taking advantage of what happens when you overlay the color of two different inks. Images, the way this drawing goes over the top of this, and then these are all collages that are like shrunk down with the character progressively losing her clothes, and so she's naked by the time you get to here. And then like this very strange, like abused looking character here. Really lovely, delicate line work. A really nice choice for the color for the inks going in there, and that second color. And that's just all throughout here. These really like soft, delicate colored pencil moments against the dry brush moments. I just think there's a really sophisticated use of everything that Riso does, and then sophisticated art in here, and then really strange kind of, the writing like makes sense as you're reading it, but then it falls apart on you, like it's between prose and poetry. My family adopted my sister from the movies, from a crowded cinema. She had acted only a little, but she perfectly expressed all of the horror and deep wounds of a magical, stuttering spectacle. And so like that it all makes sense, but like no one adopts someone from the movies, and it's just such a strange kind of singular, idiosyncratic view, but also so sophisticated. Here's another, like photograph that's being used as a print piece, collage piece almost in the print. So I found this one really compelling. Really sad that I couldn't find where to get more of this artist's work. There was no Instagram to follow or anything, but someone I'm gonna keep doing some follow up on. Maïté Marque, I think is how you would say this artist's name. Really like this illustration. Again, someone who's obviously knows how to work with the risograph and really taking advantage of the design possibilities and the colors and things like that. And then Fallon Does is the comic artist here. Not my favorite one in here, but I really, really, really liked this one page here. I thought this sparse cartooning and the use of this like highlighter yellow color against the pencil and the explosiveness is really beautiful on that. I wish this artist had stuck to this abstract color use stuff more and worried less about these these characters, because that one moment's really beautiful. Annie Zeum, really crazy wild piece here. Again, doesn't look like it's made necessarily exactly for risograph, but really beautiful drawing. And then Genie Espinosa is the artist. Really like this artist. Tagged 2 pages because I liked so many things about it. But again, kind of in this like this modern Procreate, Adobe Fresco type of vector-based illustration that I've really been getting into lately. Cartooning focused on shape instead of line, shape and color. So I really like the distortions and the shapes in this panel. Really like the color choices throughout, the combinations. You know, you basically got 2 colors here and they're being combined to make what looks like a real wide color palette. So again, someone who's like really leaned into, okay, I'm making a risograph, and so I'm going to learn how to work within the parameters that the risograph presents. I think anytime you're working within intentional constraints, you're going to do more interesting work because it's going to be responsive to the constraint. And then I just this page here, and especially this drawing, that illustration right there, that sassy face, and this is all singing some Beyonce song. I don't really listen to Beyonce, but while I was reading it, like, you know, I was like jiving along with it. So I just love that. This is an artist I really hope to see some more work from. Yeah, there's really cool stuff. Jenya Polosina, amazing illustration there. And again, beautiful use of the risograph, this stochastic kind of splatter pattern here. And then this piece here by Ben Williams is just one of my favorite things I've seen all year, I think, and probably the most inventive thing I've seen in comics in terms of like formal storytelling structures that I've seen in a long, long time. I think probably since Gareth Brooks's work that I got, 2 years ago now. I think this is, you know, the next kind of thing that really opened comics up for me. Sadly, I did not see when I went to Instagram that Ben Williams has any kind of commitment to comics other than this. It's all just kind of figure drawing. So I don't know, but dude, you're really at the forefront here, Mr. Williams. You're doing some really cool stuff, and please keep going. This is really cool. And I think there's 2 different things in here. There's, oh no, this is related. Okay, when I was reading it last night, I didn't come back to this. So this is related too then. There's, they're talking about we have to go look for these boys with guitars. But this seemed to me like an illustration of a song when I read it last night. And the like kind of sparse little painted cartooning there I really liked. But that seemed like a song to me. What is the matter? What is the matter with me? They went for a walk, but walked too far, and can't tell time of the speed of a car. We have to look now for the boys with guitars. The boys with the guitars are just having a toddle to practice away from the way that you coddle, and burn, kitchen roll, and measure themselves. Be glad that they finally have come out of their shell. So it's like a poem. But it is talking about the boys with the guitars. I hadn't linked that because I read this and then got so obsessed with this piece. So they actually are related. This is even more interesting and complex now. But so that almost looked like something else to me, like a one-off. And now, like I said, I'm related. I'm going to have to go back and look at it again. But then you have Emma Neat's selected works on paper. So you're getting introduced here to the character, the artist, Emma Neat. And this is supposedly edited by Ben Boland. And Ben Boland, you realize when you come back here, that this is the Boland collection. So someone owns these, the Ben Boland or someone within his family owns these. And this is a fake art catalog. So these are all drawings by Ben Williams, but he's presenting them as drawings by the fictional character Emma Neat in a catalog collected by Ben Boland. And that's really interesting to me. So you're creating this fake document, and then the fake document has a story embedded in it. So the way that the pictures and the words relate to each other in here is much more academic and what you would get normally in like a catalog. And Ben Williams has realized that there's a way to relate pictures and words in this kind of setting to still tell a very intense emotional story. So what you get here in the end is figure 1, untitled, Ben and Sam Boland in a wood. And so this is a drawing by Emma Neat of Ben and his brother Sam in the woods. And you can see that they're these like beautifully rendered, almost like Conte drawings. They look like they're done on, it almost just looks like paper towels or something, but it maybe is like a nice art paper with the deckled edge. But you have these drawings of these boys, these young men that are physically fit, and they're obviously in the woods, and they're like messing around with these guitars. But there's kind of like a sexualization of them, you know, like here especially, there seems to be some kind of sexualization, and then here where they're kind of using the guitars in a phallic way as well. So there's like these young fit boys being sexualized in these drawings by this fake artist woman, Emma Neat, and the person who owns them and has the collection and who's editing this is one of the people who was posing in these. And then he has, I'm assuming this is supposed to be Ben writing here. It doesn't say, but then there's a little bit of story about each one. So I'll just read a couple of them, because I really would encourage everyone to go buy this book just for, I mean, it's a great book elsewhere, but this is so killer that I would encourage everyone to go get it. But it says, the artist could be incredibly persuasive. I can't think how she convinced my brother and I to pose for this drawing. We refused to change in front of each other even when we shared a room. So now you kind of have a story where this artist is maybe in some kind of abusive relationship with these young men, convincing them to go get naked in the woods. And but they're talking about the artist too. Neat's famous groan, a low noise she made whenever concentrating, suddenly stopped. She had spotted something hidden in a carpet of shrubs behind us and drew me as I yanked it out. So she took these boys out, and you don't get any sense either of, is this someone that was their same age? Is this an older person than them? I mean, my instinct was that this is a sophisticated older artist working with these younger boys. So you start to get, maybe there's some abuse going on here, but then they've become like, this is someone who now has an art collection and is curating something. And so you get this really interesting, strange story, that mystery almost, that you have to unfold by flipping back. And I still don't know exactly what all is being suggested here. The other thing I find really interesting is this whole series of them out in the woods is circa 2013 that the drawings were made, supposedly. Then this one here was made supposedly in 2001, but the text says after Neat drove us home, so I'm assuming that means after we went out into the woods here. When I was reading it first without looking at the dates, it's like after we were naked in the woods. After Neat drove us home, we stumbled away from our questioning parents to hide the drawings and money in Sam's room. Emerging with the guitars, we softened Mom and Dad up with a moving, multiple harmony, grindingly slow rendition of Happy Birthday. Silly boys, they said, kissing our shoulder, and we went downstairs to watch a film. So that seems narratively like they went out with her, they posed, they got these guitars, they got dropped off, and Mom and Dad were like suspicious about what they were doing. But the drawing here is done, you know, like 12 years earlier or something. So I think he's showing the drawing that the artist did earlier and then just continuing the story there. And then here's a study of hands done supposedly in 2002, and this one also gives some information about his relationship to his brother that seems to maybe be a little bit strange, or like there's something else going on underneath the surface, but nothing's ever explained explicitly, and that's kind of where it's left off. But I just think it's such a fascinating strategy. The art is so well done. The presentation of like these torn papers with these deckled edges is so well done. the design is so well done, the writing is so compelling, the format, the whole everything about this is something I've never seen in comics before, and I just get so excited about those things. So I really, really hope Ben Williams keeps making comics and doesn't just go, because when I look at his Instagram, it's, you know, a bunch of nice figure drawings like this, but that's it. It's just like someone who likes to have live models. This is one of the coolest comics I've seen in a long time. So I hope he makes more comics and that they're all that clever. Anyways, on to Louis Chalameau and Nygel Panasco. All these illustrations in the front are cool. I just don't have much to say about illustrations other than I like them. And then you have Nygel Panasco, kind of telling a just surreal little story about people coming home. Karin Kraemer here. Really like that illustration. Pretty wild picture. Really like all the pattern stuff and the color. And then Paige Mehrer. This is the other one that really, really stood out to me. A, I really like the illustrations and the way the colors and all that's used in this one. But B, this relates a lot to the book I'm working on currently, Bound, in that this woman is potentially agoraphobic. That's the character in my book, is definitely someone who's possibly agoraphobic. This idea, I think, of people responding to being locked up during COVID. All of us kind of getting used to that. So there's some of that in this story. The focus on like an illustration type that I've seen more from female illustrators and in self-help illustration magazines and stuff like that. This type of look of illustration has really been appealing to me. Much more focus on shape and color rather than line. This has more lines in it, but shape, color, pattern, flattening of perspective, focus on negative space, all that stuff. So love the art in here, and then just feel kind of sympathetic to the story. And then, oh my goodness, this page here is just gorgeous. And you can't see it on the camera because you can't see like how intense this highlighter yellow color that they have is, but is absolutely gorgeous. This also kind of reminds me a lot of Evan Cohen's work because of these kind of poetics of form, these transformations, poetic transformations of form applied to things that are recognizable. So it's not just abstract poetics of form, but there's the poetics of form being applied to things as well. And that kind of gives off this very kind of, in both this work and Evan Cohen's work, gives off the sense of kind of like spiritual or emotional growth and enlightenment. And you get that here with the character kind of dissolving and becoming a plant. So this really, really struck me as well, this piece. So this is another artist that I'm really looking forward to seeing more stuff from. And again, someone that I think is really well suited for the risograph. It's someone who knows how to use that to their advantage and works very well with their style. And then here you just get a list of all the artists with some self-portraits and their contact information, which I love because I always want to follow up on everyone, of course. So that's great. I've already done that with all the people I really like. And then you see, again, the fabric they used for the binding in the back. And then you get this really nice kind of screen printed looking back cover as well. So just this beautiful, beautiful production here all throughout. This is the kind of really cool couture thing that, you know, like, I get it, that you can't make more than a few hundred of something like this because that's all it's going to sell, which is too bad. I would love a world where you could mass produce things that were this beautiful, but I guess that would take away some of the fun of it. So I'm just super into this kind of thing right now, and I would highly encourage everyone else to go check this out because I think that, you know, this is, if you really, really care about comics as an art form, not an industry or not even just a medium, you know, not cartooning necessarily, but comics as the intersection of comics and an art form. People who consider every aspect of the production of something, not just the drawing or the story or whatever. I think Colorama's really, each of the clubhouses that I've seen is getting progressively more impressive. This is the most recent one I have. I don't know if they have anything newer than this out. I got all the ones I could. But any more of the clubhouses that come out, I'm definitely grabbing them up. And I would definitely suggest, since these are, I'm sure, limited, I don't don't see a number right out the gate there. The poster that came with it said 500, so that's going to be my guess, is there's 500 of these. You know, go get one now before they're gone, because it's beautiful, and I doubt they're doing a second print run on something like this. So yeah, really cool stuff. If you enjoy what we're doing here on the channel, you enjoy seeing works like this, you enjoy being exposed to things like this, we could really use your support. There's 2 different ways to do that. First one is through our Patreon. We have 2 different tiers of engagement there. At the first tier, you just get early access to our videos. We have a big queue building up of stuff like this that's up on the Patreon. At the second tier on Patreon, you can get exclusive previews of the graphic novels that Sean and I are working on, that we're drawing, as well as the ability to participate in our ongoing Prané Day webcomic experiment. It's a Groundhog Day story, and you can vote and help determine what happens to the character next on the next cycle of the day. And any of the money that we make from Patreon just helps us buy the books that we review. And so we're just putting this back into other publishers' pockets, trying to help, you know, make sure that people who are pushing the boundaries like Colorama, you know, we can at least be one more sale for them, and you all help us do that. So that's awesome. And then we have books to share, keep the channel rolling. If you want to support Living the Line itself, then you should be supporting what Sean's doing with Living the Line Publishing. So we'll go ahead and take a look at one of his books now. Plaza by Yokoyama Yuichi. This is translated by Ryan Holmberg and is very large for a manga, so that's a really cool feature of this book, this standard manga size. And this is just a 200 some odd page representation of what Yokoyama Yuichi thinks of the Carnival Parade, and he's just made this like relentlessly loud and rhythmic book that pushes all kinds of amazing boundaries of what comics and manga are, and we could not recommend this book more.